Hello again everyone, welcome to the channel and today's video, watercolour tutorial. Here we go again. This is a well-known location, world-renowned. Everybody probably knows it, and it's the Tower Bridge, and it's in a sunset, and that's what we're going to be doing today. The sunset is so powerful that the Tower Bridge is almost in silhouette because we're shooting into the sunlight, and it's almost giving it a monochromatic duotone feel, which is probably, just what I mean by that is just like two colours, the darkness of the silhouette and then the orange glow of the overall scene, which is more or less impacting everything and taking over, but it does look really, really beautiful. Okay, so I've already, as you can see, started to draw out the whole draft of the painting today. Now, Tower Bridge in London is very, very iconic. So what I've done is I've managed to make sure that I've got it as accurate as I possibly can without going overboard on too much detail. But obviously there are some things about Tower Bridge that are quite unique, aren't there? So I've managed to preserve those elements of the drawing within here. Structures that are very, very important and make the characteristics of Tower Bridge exactly what it is and recognisable the world over. So that's important to get those in. However, other than that, again, like we did in our last video when we did the Abbey at Whitby, we talked about zones and areas. So let's go through those zones. The sky, everything behind in the sky, a slight background going on here, possibly here, and then the rest is the bridge itself. You'll see no further detail other than the outline of that bridge because it's going to be in silhouette, because we've got a really beautiful sunset, starburst sunset going on just here, which is going to render the main building of the bridge as dark as possible as that silhouette. And then down here again, another silhouette of a barge that's crossing the River Thames just at the right time, which I was really, really happy about when I took the shot. Here is the water, and you can see that I've just indicated where my main reflections from the towers are going to be. So I'm going to mix the cadmium yellow. Here we go. That's going to be the main basis of the first wash for that beautiful glowing sunset. The cadmium yellow, being probably one of the brightest colours in your palette, is going to work a treat. So there we go, that's that ready. And we're also going to be ready with the alizarin crimson. Beautiful red, and we'll get some of that ready there as well. And that's going to mix into there when we go into the more orangey golden colours. They'll be my two main colours for the sunset. And then as we go a little bit darker further down the line, we're going to bring in some of this here, the neutral tint. I'm not worried about going over this because later on, obviously, I'm going to block that in dark, so it won't matter. So I'm going to take this wash straight over the top of everything that's in the background and this middle distance foreground area here, knowing full well that this will be a lot darker and won't be affected by what's behind it. Coming down to the horizon line. And not too worried about this because once we dry, as we've seen before, we'll just put a straight block of colour into that area. The diagram that we've got is holding really nice. We know exactly where we need to put the washes and things. It's put it in some believability and realism. However, there's not that much detail. It's just the line work that we've got a level of accuracy. Basically, as we said, because we need a level of accuracy to depict this very, very well-known landscape. I'm going to fan into the sun. You'll remember a few videos ago we did a sunset, didn't we, of the beach, and we used masking fluid. That was just an exercise to show what masking fluid can do and how we can use it to that effect to create that sunset and block out the actual sun as a white dot. The sunset today is actually right behind there, so I don't really want to use the masking fluid in that sense. Let's get that first beautiful cadmium yellow dominant colour down. Now in the darker areas that are receding away from the sunset burst itself, we're just going to be that little bit darker, and we're going to use our alizarin crimson. Let's work it on the edges, and we'll let the paper and the paint itself, as random as it is, to just work its magic and give us some really, really loose, nice effects. We've got a bit of purpley red going on there, really beautiful. A bit of that right up at the top there. Okay, I think I'll leave that as it is. Right, okay, here's a little trick and a tip that I do. So you can see from the painting already where the sunset and the sun position is right there. So to help maintain some of that area being really bright and white, I'm just going to use my tissue paper and dab around there to take away a little bit of the paint. Not too much, and there you can see instantly the massive glow effect that that's having. Okay, let's let that dry. So we can see the colours here that we've used, haven't we? Here's the wash brush that we've applied onto here, and the cadmium yellow looking beautiful and golden now, with adding some of that alizarin crimson into it there. And then just over here, the neutral tint. We've just brought a little bit of that in for that darkness, haven't we? Beautiful colours there, fabulous. First wash has dried, as you can see, and we've got some absolutely lovely sort of watercolour accidents, haven't we? Which I always love. I call them happy accidents, as we've seen in sort of previous videos. Just going around, really, really nice. Very, very reminiscent of how watercolours plays on really beautiful paper. And we just let it happen as it dries, that wash. Really love it, it's nice. So what I'm going to do is going to apply just a second wet on dry wash for just a slight amount of cloud formation. We're going to do a little bit of darkened cloud formation just over here, very, very moody in this evening sky. And then just a little bit of distant cloud formation just here that's going to come into this little bit as well, just here, which would be nice. And remember, we don't mind about this here, do we? Because that's going to be really dark later on in the painting. Really dark, foreboding sky up here. On this side, I'm going to do almost the reverse of that. Here we've sort of picked out lighter clouds and painted around them, haven't we? On this side, I'm going to do the opposite and paint the clouds in dark on the lighter area here, and then just soften them off really quickly. Okay, second wash on there with just a little bit of cloud, just to bring some formation into the sky there. And that's going to look really, really nice once we put this silhouette in, which is going to be next. just going to flick in, as always, just a impression of a distant horizon background. Using the lines that we created earlier. There's the guide. There we go. Okay. Alrighty. Nice strength of darkness there. It's looking well. Just watch this where it seeps in. We could just use the, as you saw there, just use the tissue paper just to pull back. There you go. See how that did that? Let's just use the tissue paper to recorrect that and take that away. Hold that on there. Take it away. The line work that we did at the very beginning now comes into its own in the way that we can hold and just paint into it, almost like painting by numbers. Go around the edge. And in previous videos you probably remember I did this kind of thing, doing the edge, which almost acts as like what we call a gatekeeper. It's almost like a barrier. Once we get the edge in, we can fill the whole of the area with the colour. Lots of colour, predominantly neutral tint. We really want to have that darkness. I'm going to wait just here, let this dry, and then come back to that bit with a lot more dark. Drop that in nice and steady. The pencil line work right at the beginning is really helping us now as a guide. To the edge. And you can see now with the darkness of this silhouette that we're creating with the neutral tint, it's starting to come together now. The strength of the foreground silhouette is starting to play off on that background, and things are coming together. Bring it down, flood it in with nice lots of colour. Now, on those cable lines and the support mechanisms for the bridge, just here, there are other lines and things, but I'm going to leave them out. Less detail, you know, devil in the detail, as we've said in other previous videos. Simplify it. And I'm just going to put the struts in. I'll do that last. Use the finer brush here just to indicate. Here. Okay. Okay, so that's the bridging and the majority of the detail. We'll just work on these struts right at the end. And then we're just going to let that dry. And then we're going to do the River Thames with all the lovely reflections and the golden ripples. That's next. I'm going to start with the beautiful cadmium yellow. I'm going to use this as the basis for the overall colour of the water. Let's take a little bit of that into there just to help. So let's finish the painting off with the boat or ferry that's trundling across the River Thames on this evening light. That's the final touch. Here we go. As I said, this is the darkest element of the whole picture because it's the furthest forward. So the darker we go, the more it'll pop. Okay, so we're done. There we have the Tower Bridge in London on the River Thames with a little, maybe a ferry or a tugboat going across the water there in the evening light. Shall we break it down? Here we go. We used the pencil at first, didn't we? And I drafted in the basic bridge almost in a outline sense, and then a little bit of an outline just for the horizon over there in this distance with some indications of London buildings over on the banks of the Thames in probably a mile away, maybe, the horizon line. And then we washed in the sky with 2 passes of wash, didn't we? And then we blocked in these areas here in the distance, and then we went darker with the Tower Bridge itself, flicked in sort of the really dark tones of that. Kept it simple as best we can, but yet kept some character and as much detail as that we need to portray the bridge so that we know exactly what it is. The River Thames itself, almost an echo in colour of the sky, which is what we would do naturally anyway, wouldn't we? We'd always try and use that mirror effect. So what was going on up here, as far as colour goes, would dominate down here and be the same. And then we finished off with the reflections and dropped in the boat. I hope you like that one. Probably about half an hour's worth of painting, maybe 35-40 minutes max. And we also got some really happy accidents, which I always love. And that's what happens sometimes when we're quite loose with our washers. We get these sort of like paint that decides to do what it wants to do, and it does funny things. And it's always really nice in a watercolour. It looks really random, and I call them happy accidents. Always happy to get them. Hope you like that one. Next time we're going to stick to autumn because it's really golden out here now in England. Quite cold, but there's some lovely colours. So we're going to do an autumn woodland scene and try and capture that golden light coming through trees and things like that. And that should be good practice for us. I hope your creative journey is going really well for you, as always, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.